Canine Detection Collaborative, a detection dog training trio with Stacy Barnett.
Hi.
Robin Grubel.
Hey there.
And Crystal Wing.
What's up?
With humor and a big dose of theory, our trio talks practical training advice and features interviews with top trainers and scientists.
It's Canine Detection Collaborative.
Hi guys, this is Stacy Barnett at the Canine Detection Collaborative, and I'm here today with my co-hosts, Crystal Wing.
Hello.
And Robin Grubel.
Hi there.
And we were actually just kind of chatting on this topic and thought it would be a great podcast episode. What we're going to talk about today is transition, or not even just transitioning, but even if you're adding on, but working with a new canine partner and what that means. And really kind of this whole topic kind of came up because I was trialing with Prize at her second NW3 this past weekend. And even though this is my third young female lab from the same breeder, they're all related, like closely related. You know, she's a cousin or whatever. She's so different. And just like trying to figure out how to trial her. I mean, she's a great searching dog, but I'm having to try to figure out what's the best way to get her in the right, frame of mind to trial. Like, how do I manage her? Like, what's the best way to run her in a search? Do I go on leash? Do I go off leash? What's the best staging routine that I have? Like everything. And I was talking to Robin, and we just got into like, hey, this is common. Every time you start working with a new partner, you've got to learn them. So that's what we're going to talk about today.
Well, and you're talking to me about, as we were talking about this and just even what you were describing, it's the mechanics, right? Because the goal is the same.
Right.
But it's not this much pressure on the leash, this much pressure. It's if I move in this way, this is what she picks up versus that way. And all of the dogs tend to be a little different.
Yes.
And, I feel for you because you have two black labs, right?
Right.
I personally look like I have breed ADHD. Because, I started with the border collie, then I went to had another different color border collie and a black lab and, like 15 different dogs. Right. But out of that, if you start looking at least up until the puppies that I now have, almost every single one of my dogs is a different breed.
Wow.
And because I was using that as a visual cue for me, as to what dog I was working now.
Yeah, you would think that that's easy, but it's not, right?
Still not. You still compare. You still, and I'll be honest. I screwed up some cues with my very first dog, and every single one of my dogs since then now has the same exact cues that first dog did.
What is it? You have to share.
Well, I tried teaching the word down.
Okay.
With Talon.
Yeah.
As a border collie, using more force-based methods than luring and shaping.
Okay.
And he got to the point where he would actually literally, he was like, yeah, don't talk to me. You're stupid. Uh-huh. So I switched it to plots.
Okay.
And so now I have a whole line of labs that speak German.
So instead of you hear a Fuss, plots or whatever, and people expect a shepherd and it's
right.
A Labrador.
No, it's I have labs.
Yes.
And even Moses, that was what we did. And I was talking to somebody about the hunt test world. They use drop, and it goes back to cultures within dog training communities. They all use drop, and they're like, try and say drop instead of out. And I just laughed.
So
like, that's training. Like 22 years of dog training, not going to happen.
What's funny is I've gone through this. Like, I don't want to mess up my stay by saying stay because I want stay to be a very clear word. So I've never actually trained stay. I always train wait because I don't want to mess up the stay. So everything is now for the stay. It's a wait.
Mm-hmm. Oh, I do that too.
Because I'm like, one of these days, that stay is going to be amazing. And I'm going to call it a stay. So instead, everything's a wait.
Well, you said the culture too with protection sports. You hear a lot of German and French. And so Quinn, he was German. And then I decided with Checkmate, because he had bad hips and he wasn't going to compete, that I would just have some fun. So I made Franglish. So I just kind of combined some words. So for like send away, instead of saying Anavan, I said Autobahn because, run fast. And instead of opie, it's opie. And instead of stand where it's dabu, I say daybed. And so then when he finally actually did get to go for his PDC and his BH and his, brevet, I had to like profusely just apologize to the judges and go, I have to also go if it's a French judge. I'm just not going to even go to that trial. Because you're like, cushion. They're like, what's wrong with that chick? They're like, what, did you just say cushion? I'm like, I did. I know it's couche, but I made it funny and I called it cushion. But you got to have some fun. But that's what you do with each partner, because with Quinn, it was like real serious German and we're all precision, and Checkmate, it's like, oh, whatever. We're not going to compete anyway. Cushion. Opie.
Meanwhile, I'm like, wait.
I know. With the little, and I have a finger and it's just one finger. Wait. And they're like, really? I mean,
you could 2 fingers.
We haven't done 2 fingers. It's either that or it's a whole palm. A palm is directional.
Yeah.
And then when you tell your dog to opera and everybody starts laughing at you because your dog, because it's the au bois, which means to bark.
Oh,
Opera. Oh,
opera.
Yeah.
Or airport to pick up the dumbbell or saute to jump,
Saute.
Or to get a recall, it's veins. They're like, what did you say?
But, but going back to that visual cue, right? So Robin, you've got 2 sisters, 2 litter mates.
Yes.
That are close to identical.
Uh-huh.
That has got to be hard.
It is actually quite difficult. Now it's really funny. It's probably easier with them because I started from day one looking for the differences.
This one's got a
right,
slightly wider ear.
One's got her ears that are slightly rounder and further down on her head. And that's Ducati. And Ducati or Bristols are closer together, and the ears tend to be a little more pointy, which in my world, she's about as pointy-eared as I could get with a floppy dog at this point. So what's interesting is I have spent so much time looking for the differences in the 2 dogs that it's actually very easy for me to, and they showed me from a very young age, like 10 weeks. Those of you guys who are watching in the class, I was making some decisions at 10 and 12 weeks because they learn differently.
Yeah.
That actually separating them out is not as hard as it, and they're puppies too, right? So they're coming up at the same time. It's different than having a dog, like Talent, who was my very first and my only dog for the first 5 years of his life. That I then moved into, I had some other pet dogs, but then I got Moses. Moses was my next working dog. And to go through, Moses was trained a little differently. He was big, blonde, and hairy. So Annie was very barky. Talon was not barky. So that was an easier transition. Actually, the harder transitions started coming when I started going from Talon to Ray, because they both do cadaver work.
Okay.
And Ray didn't work like Talon. Ray
Yeah.
didn't learn like him. And she was a force all in of herself. And it's always been interesting for me to think back, really all Ray wanted to do was exist in my world. That's all she really wants to do. And I spent a lot of time comparing the two, and I lost, I think, some opportunities with her. And it's very hard to bring up a second dog in the shadow of an epic first dog.
Yeah. Yeah. It really is.
For me, Talon was,
Yeah.
he was a lottery dog. I got lucky with 2 lottery dogs in my life. Both Talon and Moses were lottery dogs, jackpot dogs.
Yeah. And it puts pressure on the dog coming up,
It does.
It puts tremendous pressure. It's like, and then you're like, well, I must be a better trainer by now because, I've got more experience and I've done more. And, in my case, I went from, my epic dog was a gassing shelter rescue as an 18-month-old, pulled off of death row right before they euthanized him. And, and I adopted him because I thought he looked like he'd, be a nice little buddy for Joey. Right. And there he was, and we did 4 summit trials and he placed in the top 5 in all 4 of them.
Yeah.
3 were technically titles. And now I have this puppy, I'm thinking Bravo, right? And I get this puppy who was, quote, bred for it. Right.
Right.
Which, by the way, that's a peeve of mine when I hear, she was bred for it, because it doesn't make it any easier.
No.
And
it's just different.
It's just different, but she has the genetics behind her to search. And there's a lot of pressure, honestly, that you end up, as you're working this dog, that, you have this incredible genetic package, and you're trying to do justice to that.
Right.
Like for me, I felt like I owed it to Brava to give her all of me, because she had that genetic package. But then here she is kind of in the shadow of this truly epic dog who then I lost tragically to cancer. Right.
Right.
And so there we were trying to go to our first summit, which was last year. And we didn't title our first time out. We just had an Elite 3. She didn't have her champion yet. And the pressure I felt on the start line with her was immense, and way more than what I felt with Judd, because she was the second dog. And then, we did title the second time, and it was almost like this wave of relief, that like this relief to get the title, because she was in his shadow, know. And now she's still in his shadow because he had 3 titles and now she has 1, right? And now I have these 2 puppies.
She's how old?
She just turned 5.
Okay.
Like literally just 2 weeks ago or a couple weeks ago, she turned 5 years old.
I wish you could see Robin's face.
So then I have Powder, who's totally different dog, right? And now she's in Brava's shadow. Right? Because now Brava has her summit title and Powder's her half sister. And it's so hard trying to not do that, because now I'm picturing the Brady Bunch and Powder's in the middle as the middle child going, Marsha, 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 right? And then I have Prize, who is probably I think is my most talented dog I've ever had. So now I'm feeling extra, you start to feel this pressure because I'm trying to do actually
each dog justice.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. And so there we were in this NW3, and I'm like, she was awesome, by the way. I mean, we had 1 error. She got and that was a totally, honestly, it was an honest error. It was an opportunity for training.
Right.
But it was, there was a thermal influence on a container, and we got to know, but we found everything else. And I'm sitting there, and honestly, I'm super, super self-critical of myself and of my handling and what we can do and what we can achieve. And I'm looking at her vehicle search. Yeah, we found both hides. We called finished correctly. And I'm like, we need to do some work here, because it comes down to trying to figure out how to manage her, because she is intense. There is just so much intensity. And she's 20 months old or whatever. And trying to go out with this young, motivated dog and try to do a search where I need her to keep her brain together, because she can't go ranging out 20 something feet and be searching the vehicles. So this is probably the wrong word, but it felt forced. Like it felt
Awkward.
like it was effort.
Right. Well, handling her is effort.
It was a lot of effort.
Right.
It was a lot of effort. When the judge goes, as we're leaving, I have 11 field labs. I understand, and I'm like, yeah. And meanwhile, I'm coming back and one arm's longer than the other,
Mach 2. I mean, she wants to do everything at Mach 2, and you may not have dealt with the dog.
And she's a bowling, like a battering ram as her dog, right? And then you compare that to Powder, who is like a missile.
Right.
But Prize has the same intensity, but it's more like the bat. She's like, I'll just get out of the way. Yeah. And just hold on, because, and she's so committed to odor. And it's so funny when I stopped off and, I was coming back and forth from a trial, and I had a chance to go by and see, Robert, who owns, her father. Right. And I got to meet Palmer, who was an incredible dog, and talking to Robert, and he, and it was really cool how he was just like, he's like, yeah, that's genetic. A lot of that stuff. And, she's an amazing dog. And I just want to do her justice, because I just feel like she's just isn't. So, but I'm trying to figure out these gymnastics and realizing that when you transition to the next dog, it's not really transitioning, it's adding in my case, right? Because I've got three.
You're actually having to learn how to handle a new dog.
Yeah.
And it's
the teamwork. And
this is why being, mentally exhausted, I start looking at the fact that I was getting into the competition thing with myself, right? Flair. I certified her at 10 months old in narcotics. Now, in my world, certified doesn't mean operational. So it's not like she actually went out and did anything. But she was certified.
That's pretty impressive, though.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah.
But I started, I had one puppy. I started getting into this whole thing with the 3 new puppies of, oh my God, they need to be out. They need to be done. They need to be ready at 10 months old. And I'm like, wait a minute. I had 1 puppy.
Yeah.
I now have 3. And it's okay if they're not ready to certify.
Yeah.
At 10 months old. It's actually okay if they're not ready to certify until they're 12 to 16 months old. Because you know what?
Yes.
In my world, that's when their maturity starts to hit. And they can handle being thrown into the middle of a concert. Yeah. And they can handle working in all of the locations that I want them to work. And one of the interesting things that I heard Tobias Gustafsson from the Scandinavian Working Dog Institute talk about, actually, when I was in about month 4 of training the girls, the 2 Black Lab girls. And he said, you see all of these people out there teaching their puppies to do all of this really focused sit and stare work and all sorts of things at really, really young ages. And his comment was, I spend all of that young time working on play development.
Yeah.
Because play development is what is their reinforcer when they get older. Yeah. And I need to have all of that money in the bank. And so I really that was one of those times where it shifted my philosophy on how hard I was going to push my puppies.
Yeah. Yeah.
But I'll tell you what, it's fun to pull out Flair and Ember, who were single puppies, and it's really nice with those two. I still end up comparing them, but it's not so much about comparing the dogs. It's actually started being more about comparing the skill sets.
Yeah. Yeah.
That one has that the other doesn't have. And then it turns into a training challenge on how can I transfer those skill sets back and forth.
Yeah. I found that with each successive dog, I find something that I want to do really well with like the next one. Right.
Right.
And it's almost like I'm adding sophistication to how I train every time I train my next dog.
Yes.
So for instance, Brava always had this really, really nice natural passive indication, right? I mean, she's just not physical. As far as like if you had to give her a job, she'd be fine as an explosive detection dog. She's not going to destroy the thing and she's not going to blow anybody up, right? Enter her half sister, Powder. Okay, who's very, very physical, who would have a very short career as an explosive detection dog, as an example, right? There would be a single event, very, very short career. So, but my point is, I was kind of making a joke there, but my point is that where Brava had that really nice natural passive indication, it didn't force me to really think about how to train the clarity of communication at, say, a container, right? Then I get Powder, who is extra in everything that she does, right? And her container behavior, I'm like, oh, we have to do something about this, right? And it made me really figure out and really learn how to really train her, because I've been training the train final response on her container work. And it made me really like dig deep and really train that. And I think every time you get a different dog, it just kind of adds on, right?
It does. And I think you tend to look at the dog.
Yeah.
And each one of the dogs because Ducati's incredibly thoughtful.
Yeah.
Bristol is not. Shiva is going to,
Well, you call her a honey badger.
I know.
What do you get what you name them? Get what you name them.
But Sheba, her tail is a total reflection of how fast her brain goes. And getting her to settle is actually going to be the issue to get her to think. And one of the things that I'm thinking as we're talking through this, I'm like, I need to do a whole lot of more CAP work. So stimulus control work and that sort of stuff with her, just to get her to the point where she can self-regulate her arousal levels.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because she's crazy nuts.
That's funny that her tail is the tell, and for Radish, it's her ear.
Her ear. Yeah, I was just thinking about her radar ear. Her Malinois ear that goes Labrador. Malinois.
When you mix a Malinois and a Lab together, and when the Mal ear stands up, I'm like, okay, we're done training now. We're going to go take a little nap.
Like, today I'm a Labrador. I'm a Malinois. I'm a Labrador. No.
Which, is it's really interesting how you have to learn those different tells. Nico's eyes gets really squinty when his brain is done. His eyes get squinty, and I'm like, oh yeah, you're totally done, buddy.
When Prize comes up to me and we're playing, and all of a sudden, or if I'm working her, actually, if I'm using, and we're just working, we're just maybe doing like sits and heel position, and all of a sudden I see her pupils completely dilate. I'm like, oh, I think we need to be done now.
That sounds like checkmate. When I can no longer see the brown in his eye,
you're like, we're done.
There's just black.
It's interesting how being able to read those little subtle body things actually in each dog are different.
But that's the super strength to our relationships, though. It's our communication, our ability to pay attention to our dogs, because, dude, they are always paying attention to us. They have us figured out so easy. And that's where you have to know, like, are they happy? Are they enjoying what they do? and, you're on their side, you got their back. And it's that communication piece. That is truly the super strength to any new dog, any new relationship. I mean, that's dogs, that's humans, that's everything. It's always about clear, concise communication.
Correct. And clarity.
Yeah. And that's, yeah.
So Crystal, and we're talking about, transitioning to new teammates. Like, so for instance, I'm talking about like transitioning Labrador to Labrador, right? And Robin's got like, the ADHD with the breeds, but mostly lately Labradors, right?
Right. Yes.
For the most part, maybe not, but for the most part. So you've got a dog who's maybe a little bit conflicted on the inside. Right. So you've got, a Malinois, you've got a Shepherd, you got another Malinois, and then you get this Labramal or Malador or whatever she happens to be in the moment. And
she's usually more Malador than Labinois, but yeah.
So, that's got to be a real shift, because when you bring in the different, so now you've got like the bite sport, the Herdie breed, the pointy ear, right? And then you bring the Labrador in. It's different. It's just,
I was hoping for the Labrador food drive. And you're probably like, no, be thankful that she doesn't have it. I get it.
Yeah.
But I was kind of hoping for a little more.
Yeah.
But she definitely has a lot of the traits of the two dogs, and it's interesting seeing them come out. Yeah. And it was really interesting learning, because I had a Mal first, then I had two Dutchies, and one lives with my dad now. And he's like the ultimate bro dog with my dad. And then I got another I got another Malinois. And then now the little Malador. And it's fun to watch her hunt, and it's fun to see the intelligence that she brings. She's 25% Yukon. So that's my Dutchie. And seeing the similarities between them is really fascinating for me. Their work ethic is way different. Her work ethic matches mine a lot closer. And so I have recognized how important that is to me in my dogs, is that we have a similar work ethic.
Yeah.
I want to be able to go out and train and do all the things and spend some time doing it. And that's not really Yukon's thing. It is now, but it's taken 5 years to build it. And she just kind of came wired that way. And I believe that's the mix of those two dogs. They both, the field bred lab and the KNPV line Dutch, Mal, that's what they do. They work. And I think too, an important part for me is chemistry. And so it was a year ago today that I posted where I was trying to figure out Radish's name. And
I remember the conversation.
Yeah. And I was kind of commenting, about that I needed a dog that had chemistry, that I have to have a dog that has a personality. They have to have that little it factor. And I originally got her as a foster, Robin's fault, because Yukon wasn't working out. We're at Muscatatuck a year ago. And I was like, I really want to do search and rescue, but I don't think Yukon's cut out for it. And I've been taking Robin's class, and she's like, I don't think he's cut out for it. Everybody was trying to be so gentle and so kind.
Actually, I think it was like, he's going to be a lot of work.
Yes, you did say that a lot.
How hard do you want to work?
And then I kept watching everybody, and I kept photographing everybody. And I kept seeing these labs that they made it look more like a gift. I mean, they all had their quirks and their things, but I was really curious about fostering a lab at that point, because that might be the way to go. And then knowing that Yukon marks on everything, I'm like, I have to get a female because I'm over this. Yeah, well, thanks, Radish, who marks on everything.
Is that just while she's in heat, or is this all the time now?
I hope it's not all the time. She lifts her leg, and she
Ray
marks
does
everywhere.
The same thing. Ray does the same thing.
Prize does too. Prize lifts her leg when she pees.
Yeah.
But this whole marking anyway. Yeah. Sadness.
Yeah. But the girls are smart though. And
they are. And
that's smart, hard workers.
I'm like, are you peeing or sitting? Oh crap. You're peeing.
they come, and if you have a female dog who wants to work just in general, it's like, they're just like, okay, I'm here. I'm smart. I'm here. I can do the thing. I can focus. I can do the thing.
She's just so much more mature.
And you're like, would you like to learn this? Sure.
And some of the maturity thing actually I think comes from how you started her.
I started him very similarly. And that's the thing that kills me.
Some of that's probably breeding, but one of the things that I've noticed with dogs that have had positive based reinforcement stimulus control games like It's Your Choice, the CAP game, some of those other stuff, they come with, it helps them mature faster. And I'll be honest, what I've noticed with the girl dogs, they're a little bit more calculating. Go figure. But
bravo,
they can be wicked hard searchers. The boys tend to be more like, teach me what you want me to do, and I'll just go do it every time. I'll go do it. Yukon does not count.
Thanks.
Yeah. But this is Dash and Nico. Dash and Nico, Moses and Talon were the same way. They're like, yep, got it. Let's go do the thing. Let's go do the thing. Most of the girls I've had are be like, sure, we'll do the thing. Well, how about this thing too? How about that thing too? Come on, girls. And so that's been the other thing. Trainer challenge, get me a female every time. But that's something I've just actually started to notice. Well, and let's consider the fact that the last 5 dogs that I've gotten have been female.
Yeah.
I'm finding with myself, I didn't think I was this way, but I do appreciate a more serious dog.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Like Quinn was very serious in a lot of ways. I mean, he's a military bred dog, and I click with him so much. Yukon is a doofus. Checkmate, it's a marshmallow. And then little Radish is more serious. And it's interesting because my best friend Nancy, she has Ben, who's super serious, and this, big tough German Shepherd Ben. And she's always, oh, what a silly boy. I'm gonna get your butt, and that kind of stuff. And I do find that we bring out that lighthearted silliness, and it takes a while to bring that out in them. And you really see their personality when you bring out that kind of goofy side of those serious dogs. There's something really enjoyable about that complementary skills, I think. Because I think I tend to be a little bit more goofy, and I think I fit better with a little more serious dog. Because I think 2 of us being goofy is too much goofiness.
I wonder, like, the color. I think keep going back to color. And Robin, I have to ask you this question because I have an N of 1 here. I have 1 yellow. Okay, right? N of 1. And she's talking about a doofus, right? I mean, I love her. But she is definitely a very happy girl. She's so happy. And she's just this like happy dog, where my 2 black labs, right? Brava and Prize, they're like, okay, what's my job? Let's do the job. And Powder's like, wee! She's just... So when I do dock diving with her, she has this game, I can't hold on to my bumper game, right? So I throw it and she jumps in the water, and it's I can't hold on. And it's like she accidentally, air quotes, right? Accidentally lets go of the bumper. When she pushes it underwater, she lets go of it. It shoots in the air. She grabs it again. She dives down because we have to be dramatic, right?
Oh, yes.
So we dive underwater. And then it shoots out again, and she's splashing. And I think it's I can't hold on to my bumper game, right? So,
absolutely.
Yeah, where Prize and Brava, they're like, oh no, you don't do that. You go out, you come back. You get the bumper, you come back.
So I have an N of 6, right?
Okay.
For this.
I have an N of 1 with yellow. Yeah.
So I've got 3 yellow. And
okay, well, I have an N of 4, the 4 labs, right? Judd, Brava,
right.
Powder, and Prize. Well, Judd is lab-ish. I don't really know what he was. He's passable lab. So out of 4, 3 have been black, one's yellow, and the 3 black ones are all like, "This is my job," and the yellow one's like, "La la 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 la."
So
she does her job, but she's very.
I have noticed a little bit more, and I'm crossing between English lab lines to American hunt test to American field trial lines. So it's kind of this broad thing, but the black labs tend to be a little bit more on the serious.
Okay.
Let's go do the thing. Now let's go do the thing. The yellow labs, Dash is definitely way on the goofy end. He's like, dude, Mom, this is fun.
He's like a surfer bro.
He is so like a surfer bro. But you know what?
I just want to hug him.
You look up in the dictionary the definition of joy, and there is his picture with a fur ball. I mean, totally.
Oh, and that smile. He's got the best smile.
He smiles. It's so cute. And then Flair is just as serious about doing her job, but she's got some quirky kind of, hey, Mom, what do you think going on?
I mean, Powder's super intense and she loves her job. So it's not even that. It's just she has a very, we're the flair, right? She has a very flair to it. She's got a,
there's a quirk.
Yeah, just
but it's not a quirk. I'm not going to do my job quirk. It's just
no. It's
there's some extra bling going on there, some zest.
Yeah, what do they call it when the people at Chili's wear the flare? They do call it flare, don't they?
Yeah, they call it flare.
Buttons.
Yes.
Yeah, like they're walking around with little extra buttons on their jackets,
right? and so and there's in the lab world, from what I understand, it's like the black labs get it done. The yellow labs are more like they're a little less intense.
They're happy.
And then there's the chocolate labs, which everybody's like, okay, chocolate labs.
Right. So actually, there's 4 types.
Okay.
There's black lab, yellow lab, chocolate lab, and meth lab.
Oh, yes. Yeah, very true. Exactly. Yeah. So, and it's still even interesting transitioning between, because now I'm working all of these basically 5 labs, right?
Yeah.
And then you throw in a Dutch Shepherd.
Yeah, that's funny.
Sure.
So
you do that.
So did talking about the food drive, I just Crystal, did you see the picture I posted on Facebook today of Prize's food bowl?
No, I haven't had time.
I did. Oh my gosh.
Did she take out a metal prong thing?
She's got dents in it.
So I feed all my dogs with a slow feeder. So
yeah, slow feeder, that's what it's called.
Yeah, it's a metal slow feeder because I tried her on the plastic ones because all my other dogs, they eat out of these like plastic maize feeders. They love it. Well, she shattered one as a puppy, and I'm like, let's try a harder plastic one. She shattered that one. I'm like, okay, let's try metal. So it's metal, and it's got 3 of these like knobs on it. Well, when I was in Florida, she's really into her food, right? So the knobs are mangled, right? They're absolutely, the metal knobs are mangled, and one of them is missing. I have a missing metal knob. And when I was in Florida, I couldn't find the knob anywhere. And I'm tearing apart my van. I'm like all in the house. I'm like, where's this knob? So I took her down to the emergency vet and I said, just x-ray her for me because she's a lab, right? Luckily, nothing, so she's fine. But it's just, so you're talking about food drive and watch what you wish for.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah, watch what you wish for.
It'd be nice to have a little more, though.
Yeah, but Radish she's young yet, though. So some of that serious, I mean, and this is one of the things that I think people forget is that up until the dogs are about 2, you're still building your dog.
Yeah. Well, and her sister Carrot is really going through some moments right now where she is, acting a little reactive. And so we're like, yep, we're just going to not do a lot of anything right now and just kind of go hide in a hole for a minute. Let you grow up a little bit.
Right. Well, because some of that's fear periods and, whatever else is going on. And I think we look at, dogs turn a year and they look full grown. And we pretty much forget that they're the equivalent of about a 10 to 12-year-old kid.
Yeah.
and they can't cope with life well yet.
Yeah.
Right.
And it is great being close to a litter mate. That's also something it's really nice to be able to see so many similarities between the two. And her sister has a whole bunch more lab in her, just like personality and look wise. So it's interesting to see the similarities, but also kind of know it feels like one does something just a few days before the other. And so it's also been a nice thing to have.
Yeah. I know a couple of, I'm Facebook friends with some people that have some of Prize's litter mates. And I know there's one doing agility down in Alabama. And I also, that breeding got repeated. So I'm Facebook friends with somebody who has one of a younger female sibling, full sister. And I think she's going in the FEMA system. So, I'm seeing kind of how she's training her and everything. And it's really cool because they're so similar in a lot of like the way they look in a lot of ways, but they're also very different.
Mm-hmm.
I know we're totally off track of our total topic, but it's cool stuff.
Well, but it all goes down to, and as we were sitting and talking, we compare, right?
Yeah.
Because we expect this animal that we're training, not necessarily exactly the same, but similarly to the animal that was its predecessor. I've really started trying to think in my head that I don't ever replace a dog.
Yeah.
I have a successor.
Yeah.
Or a predecessor, but I don't ever replace a partner because you can never replace that exact dog.
Yeah. You can't. And I guess I keep going back to, for me, it's a couple different things. It's like I am a perfectionist driven person, right? But it's not even about the titles. I mean, I mentioned the titles and stuff at the beginning of this episode, but it's actually not that. Because I'm always trying to train for excellence, right? I'm always trying to achieve excellence with my training. And I just notice more, I guess, with each dog because I'm trying to build on that. And I see something and I'm like, I want to fix that. And I also find that what I tend to do, and which I'm probably going to do here too, is where I'm like, okay, there's a couple things I want to work on here. And it's not a criticism of her at all. It's a function of, I see an opportunity to make this better, right? Because I think, yes, we're successful here, but oh my gosh, it can be amazing. Let's just work on this because I see so much potential here that I want to focus. I want us to be the best team that we can be especially when we get to the levels where it's going to really, when the rubber hits the road, right? So at the 3 level, I feel like I don't think it's going to take very many times for her to finish her NW3 Elite. And I need that quality like experience. So I think she needs a little bit more work from my perspective, even though we're successful, right? But I feel like I want to work on this and get this better so that our teamwork is better when we're at the elite level.
What you're describing to me is what happens when you start doing operational assessments or doing assessments with your dogs. Is you go out, you do an assessment, you're like, oh wow, this went swimmingly well, but I had a glitch here and a hiccup here, and all I need to do is spend a little bit of time tweaking in these fundamentals, because it goes back to the definition of fluency.
Right.
What you're talking about is you didn't feel fluent with her.
No, I didn't feel fluent. Well, in some of the searches, we actually felt like that, but there are some searches that her searching style is not conducive to the element. And she is the consummate air center. She's like, I'm just going to ride these air currents back to the hide, which is awesome in so many ways, right? But when you're trying to do something like vehicles and you're trying to clear them, and she's like, woo, over here, and I'm like, no, we really need to work the vehicles. And she's like, if compared to compare, right? Brava is visual. She's a very visual dog. So working her and working Miss, I have to ride all the air currents, right? Is a totally different experience.
Right.
So even though they're cousins and they're both these really, really talented dogs, right? Working them, it's like working, they're almost two different species are so different, right? I mean, that's an exaggeration. They're not, and they're both Labradors and they're both wonderful Labradors. But so now I'm having to reassess some training because you can't train them all the same.
No.
And even if you do focus on the fundamentals, if a piece of that fundamental is less fluent, it may show up more under certain circumstances, right?
Right.
Yeah, she's laughing at me.
I actually just had a whole thought, but you should go back to imprinting.
Sorry. I think I just peed my pants a little bit there.
That seems to be everybody's solution because what you're talking about is the stage past imprinting to where we're teaching the team how to work.
Yeah.
And so, that just popped into my head and I was just like, oh yeah. Cause, she rides out air currents. She wants to hunt the air currents. No, go back to imprinting. No, no, there's a little bit of tweaking and this is actually a harder problem than just go back to imprinting or go back to pairing to odor.
I use a training technique that I learned from Tony Gravely, who's a friend of mine. He's a trainer and he also is an ACSW judge. And he has an approach to teaching self-patterning on vehicles. So using hide placement, but he doesn't do it in the typical, around in a circle. He actually does more of like an X, right? And it actually works really well. And I've adopted that. And the kudos. He came up with this, and it's a phenomenal way of doing this. And I think that's what she needs because I need to give her something to default to. So I'm sitting here, even though I'm sitting in my vehicle going, I really think we found all the hides. I feel really confident that we found all the hides. But for me, I look at that and I'm like, we could do so much better if we didn't have to have conflict working the vehicles.
Well, and you're thinking about, is she an effective searcher? Yes. Is she as efficient as she could be? No. And so we'll just take the opportunity to also teach her to be efficient. Because you know what? You're going to need that later.
Exactly. And I don't want to be in conflict with her, and when we feel like we're in conflict with our dogs, maybe they're just out of their minds because they're so excited. Because honestly, bringing a very intense dog to the start line after you have to go through 2 or 3 staging areas where they have to wait.
Oh yeah. Welcome to the holding blinds for hunting dog training.
Yeah. Oh my God. And then probably when they're hunting, they're hearing the guns go anyway, right?
They are.
Oh my gosh, this is my next turn. And they get the FOMO.
Yeah, absolutely.
They get the FOMO. So there she is. She's vibrating. She knows because in the first couple of trials, right, she hasn't really figured out this is what we're doing. This is the fun thing that we're doing. Because my dogs love to trial. They all love to trial because I try to make it fun for them, right? So trialing with my dogs, for my dogs, it's more fun than training. They prefer to trial than train.
I actually think Dash really likes certifying better than training because it gets more reinforcement and certifications.
but seriously, my dogs love trialing. They really love it. So she's like, oh my gosh, we're going to get to do the thing. She's vibrating. So trying to get her to the start line, I thought I was going to die. And I'm like, I have to do this times today.
Yeah. And that is different. Talon would never put pressure on the leash because I'd spent so much time training him because he was my only dog. Right. And then I have Nico who is like, let me draft and let me pull.
Yeah.
And when you have an 85-pound Dutch Shepherd pulling on you, you could die because you fell down a hill.
Yeah. You're really good. You're really
you
good.
could.
I mean, I've got like cheese in my hand. I'm trying to do cheese on the nose. She's like, to hell with your cheese. I want to go search.
You know what I've actually started doing?
Yeah.
Because if Nico puts pressure on the leash, we actually turn around and go back to the car.
Yeah. Well, usually when Brava barks, I'm like, do you want to go to the van? Do you want to go to the van? And the funny thing is, I've never actually put her in the van. She just looks and she goes, oh no, ma'am, I don't want to go in the van. And so she gets quiet. I'm going to take you right back to the van, right? Like with a child, like we're going to go right home. We're not going to go to the,
you're not going to the store.
That's right.
So
we're going to go, I'm going to turn this car right around, Missy, I'm just, do you want to go back to the van? No, ma'am, I don't.
I think it's just interesting. Crystal, I think you talked about in a previous episode of don't make comparisons. And whether it's us to other handlers or our current partners to a past partner or, me between 5 different dogs at the moment. They're each unique, and being able to understand that it requires us to grow as trainers and handlers to work these different dogs is, I think, the gift that having many canine partners is what we get.
Yeah.
And they definitely all teach us different things.
Yes.
And I'm thankful for the lessons that UConn has taught me. It's helped with both Radish and Carrot, her sister. A simple one, getting in the van. She'll go 5 feet away and stop and look at you. And that teenage tyrant is screaming at you because there's no leash attached. And we know it's time to go. And yes, she knows she's going to get something when she gets in the box. These things are all going to happen. If I wouldn't have had UConn, my previous self would have probably done different things. But because of UConn, I know all I have to do is look at her and say, oh, you are a good girl. Look at the good choices you're about to make. And she jumps in the van.
And here I am throwing cookies into I'm like, Brava's like, I'm not getting in right now.
Just because she's standing in that 5-foot range, if I was to say no, or why didn't you come, or anything like that, I guarantee she'd be off to the races. But just by looking at her, what a good girl. She's like, oh, you're right.
Yeah,
I am a good girl, and I do make good choices, and I do get in the van.
I just throw the cookies into the crate.
And because she's so good, she gets the cookies now. So, I mean, I would not have learned that if it wasn't for UConn, and that was their similarities, but it's what they've taught us. And I do think the number one thing that I've learned from having the different dogs that I've had, because let me see, I had Nikki, the Shepherd, Polly, the Golden Retriever mutt from the Pound in Kirksville. Oh my goodness. Honey Bear, a German Shepherd Roddy. It's been a mix. Charles was a Border Collie, Aussie, something. The hair on his ears could reach the tip of his nose. It was just like this long, floofy ear hair. And he's black with and he's black with pointy ears and tan legs and having Sable. She was like an Akita Shar-Pei Chow mix that looked like a bear, So this whole variety, and then growing up in an animal rescue, environment, with my parents having an animal rescue with Furry Kids Refuge, it's getting to experience so many dogs. I will say, I really believe the most important thing I've learned for every single dog is having that relationship building communication, but even more, it's just spending time connecting. Just that disconnect from everything else, and this is before phones and such, but it's just you and that one dog, and prioritizing that connection. And the more I prioritize that, the happier we always are. And now having working partners versus just pets, or my protection sport partners, I truly believe that solo time for us is when we really become connected. Take one dog hiking, leave the other 3 dogs at home. It is okay. And that's been a hard thing for me to kind of come to terms with at times, where I can take this dog hiking. I can take this dog out to go train and search and leave everybody else at home. It's okay.
I usually
They don't agree. They don't agree with you.
well, so I compensate. My dogs, if I take one dog to go do something, everybody else gets a bone or gets a cookie, right? Let's show them you love them by feeding them, because, that's what our society does. And so I agree with you on the take the time to just do one thing with the dog. This is why, I look at the puppies. The 3 puppies I have now are being raised significantly different. Yes, they're going through the same training progression plans and everything, but my laser focus is not on this one puppy.
Yeah.
And it shows in their training. I know that. Do I know I can make it up? Yep, it's fine. Plus, you're running a small business and doing 500 other things all at the same time, And so the career life, whatever, we are only human. It's okay. No capes are required.
Well, and if you work a puppy too much too, I mean, you're going to cause burnout anyway. And so when I had all my eggs in one basket with Quinn, one injury, oh my gosh. I mean, that was it. That was depressing.
Right.
He tore his biceps tendon. He tore his quad. It was just a crazy dog, doing fun things, and injuries happen. The more that you're out being active, there's possibilities of that.
Yeah.
And all your eggs in one basket is so heavy, heavy.
It is.
Yeah.
It's too much on both of you. When you have a strong work ethic, it's, I was at a place last year where I'm like, I have 3 dogs and I don't have anybody to go hiking. I mean, that was a really rough place. I really got depressed. Having an old dog that couldn't do it because he was, pretty much blind. And then I got goggles and we could do so much more now. And having another dog with bad hips that was in surgery, another dog that just had elbow and shoulder surgery. It was rough. I shouldn't be able to outdo 2 Malinois and a Dutch Shepherd. So now I have a radish.
Well, but even you thinking about all of your eggs in one basket, it gets really heavy. That actually also applies all the way over to what are you training the dog to do?
Pressure.
Right. It's all the pressure. So if you're talking about pressure that you're putting on the dog, that all we have, every time we get out, we do detection work. We don't work on, okay, yes, we go do obedience once a week because that's what we're supposed to do in puppy class. Right. But
I missed that memo.
Yeah.
I love obedience. It's so fun.
So, but all of the rest of the stuff, and some of the stuff that I'm finding right now for the 7-month-old puppies is actually just getting out and experiencing the world.
Yeah.
Back to let's go walk around, or let's go sit in the Walmart parking lot and have 50 people walk past the car and not bark at them. That'd be awesome. So that, and I just put Nico in the back of the car so Nico can glare at the puppies, and it works.
I think I would have to block out the windows for that to happen. But hey, Prize is he's the best watchdog ever. But
I have sat for half an hour in the Walmart parking lot with the girls in the car, feeding cookies for being quiet in the car.
That's great.
What is that, training? Is that what you call that?
Yes.
Okay.
And I was listening to a book.
Okay. Yeah.
But I sat right next to a cart corral on purpose.
There's going to be,
So, I mean, Nico and he was somewhere along the way, he learned that car door slamming was the precursor to cars driving by, and very high prey drive. Dutch Shepherd. And so I spent 3 hours sitting in a grocery store shopping on an island in their parking lot with a lawn chair, a book, a bag of cookies, and my dog.
Wow.
So that he learned to be quiet and not freak out. So he learned to manage his arousal levels. Maybe not the brightest thing, but you know what? It worked.
No, it's incredibly bright. I've used the Home Depot parking lots, grocery store parking lots. It's wonderful training. Gas stations. I mean, everywhere I go, it's training opportunities. So
Right.
I hear you. That whole comparison piece, though. I mean, I look at Yukon, I look at Radish. You know, they're only my only two search dogs, and Yukon is so red. Like he has to get his nose right on the thing, and then he feels happy. And then Rad, oh, close enough. How about now? So pink.
Do we need to mention what that red and pink thing is in case people are like, why is he red?
Oh,
probably.
Robin, go.
Yeah. So I believe Deb Burnett and Tennessee Task Force 1 described this to me, that you have dogs that naturally source all the way to odor. So they're red dogs, if you consider odor being really, really red. And then you have the dogs that naturally are diffuse or fringe on odor. And so we call them pink dogs. And so it's a really good visual representation for us as a detection dog community or trainers and handlers to really start thinking about where on that spectrum is your dog and which way are you trying to swing that dog, because you're always trying to move them either up or down the spectrum.
So it's so interesting starting with a very red dog and trying to give him the confidence that, hey, bud, you can let me know. Like, you are close enough. You don't have to have every little minuscule microbe.
That was Judd. I was like, tick tock, and here we are being like timed. I'm like, can we finish this up now? While Brava's like, it's over here, which is not necessarily.
It's a total different energy. Yeah, it's great to learn from, but definitely trying to swing that pendulum, trying to get both of them to get closer to the middle. Woof.
I'm like, you need to work harder to get to source, sweetheart. But it's over here. It's over there. It's just, so she's very pink.
I think the red's easier, don't you?
Yes.
Yeah, I do. I think Prize and Powder are both red. Brava is hot pink. She's definitely pink.
Of course she is.
Exactly. She's very, very pink. So I'm always trying to work on getting her redder, right? And that's kind of the training challenge that we always have. On the flip side, because everything is a double-edged sword, right? Because she is pink, she's fast.
Yeah. And you need that.
And in a sport where we're timed, she can make those split decisions, and those split decisions are not always precise, right? Because she can get hung up in pooling odor and trapped odor and everything. But if I can maintain that with training, she's really, then her speed actually really helps her in terms of her sourcing. Where, Prize is let me surf all the air currents, right? So in NW1, where there's one hide and it's usually on something like a chair, she didn't place because she had to work the entire scent picture, because that's the way she works. Because she's like, I have to surf the air currents, right?
But do you think, is that an experience thing?
I think it's how she problem solves.
Right.
So her natural searching style is to work the air currents. And when you have straightforward hides, that it's on that obvious chair sitting right over there, right?
It works fine.
It's like, can you just check the chair, right? No, I got to work it off this vertical surface and come around, and you never know. It could be way over there. Now I'm going to come back here. Oh, hey, it's on the chair, right? Versus Brava's like, hey, there's a chair. Let me check it. Hey, Mom, it's on the chair, right?
And some of that is that experience.
No, it's how they think.
It's how she thinks. Interesting.
And then how they think and how they process information. And that, for me, circling back to like this initial conversation, is actually one of the hardest parts of switching to another partner is how do you think? And how can I tailor your training to make you the best dog you can be based on how you think and how you process information? Because looking at my girls, who are all really closely related, they can't be three more diametrically opposed dogs. And how they think and how they work are so different. But with Prize, she is such and even going back to containers, I work so hard in containers, getting her to actually check the containers, because she's such an air center. Where Brava is naturally very visual. So she goes up and she naturally checks the containers.
Right.
So her processing is different. And the training steps that I had to take with Brava are very different than the training steps I have to take with Prize. And for me, I'm thankful for that because it makes me a better trainer. But it also makes me have to handle differently. It makes me crazy. It makes me crazy. But at the same time, I'm looking at her going, let's use this is amazing. Let's use this for good, not evil, right?
Right.
You put her on like a problem with like thermals and blood, and she will work it. I mean, this dog has like major commitment to odor, and she can problem solve all this stuff. And because she's a road dog, she's not getting hung up and pulling odor or trapped odor. She's going to be incredible, right?
But she just needs a little maturity and experience.
Yeah.
Well, and it's been interesting as we're going through this whole conversation to think about Ducati and Bristol. Same litter, whole thing.
Yeah.
Ducati, incredibly thoughtful. If I were going to pick a bomb dog, she'd be it.
Yeah. You don't want impulsive for bomb dogs.
And it's not that Bristol isn't impulsive, but Bristol, she's also really good because she wants to put her nose right on it.
Okay, you don't want that for bomb dogs either, right?
Not really. I'm okay with that for,
Your lovely sources, my nose right on top of it. Yeah.
But I really like the more thoughtful dog that, but they're still only 7 months old. I don't know. Ask me in a year.
True.
So
and that's what I keep trying to figure out with mine too. I see Radish is very pink, but I see her as way more confident than Yukon. And so I wonder about, because she's so much more confident, if that's why she's willing to just say, hey, good enough right here. Let's go. Whereas Yukon tends to be a little more on the anxiety side. It's Groundhog Day for him too. He has no memory. So every single time it's like, whoa, new search. I'm like, we just did it.
Well, that's the Labrador though. Labradors are bred for memory.
But I go with Rad, and the very first search we did in a place we haven't been in a year, and that's the first place she's going to check, is where we did it a year ago. And with Yukon, he's like,
Labrador.
Have we ever been here before? Labrador. This is the coolest place ever.
Labrador.
People say that, border collies are brilliant. Border collies are brilliant. After handling 2 of them, I can say that, yes, they can remember from year to year.
It's amazing.
They would go back and check things. Labs do the same thing because, they're bred for that whole memory thing. When you're talking dogs that remember 400-yard marks.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And I have to say the most intelligent dog I've ever worked with is Brava, to the point where, but she does it in a way we're talking about, like kind of like they're calculating.
Yes.
Right. She's the one that said, oh, you're taking Powder out to go to the bathroom right now. Let me see how I can break into this refrigerator. And then I come in and she's, of course, in pure Labrador fashion, she's gorging herself on 2 pounds of cooked chicken. And then she has to go and, she gets sick, obviously, because, you can't just inhale 2 pounds of chicken and expect it to go well. And then I'm like, So I take another dog out and she figures it out because she's a single event learner. She's a single event learner and she's sneaky, right?
Oh, that's right.
So
she's a counter ninja.
Sneakier, and I have to figure out how to wedge that door shut until I can get it. Anyway.
Well, Radish is the one that goes and steps on the robot vacuum because she knows that I'm going to have to get up to turn it off. And so I'll stop whatever I'm doing to get up. And it just took the very first time of going, oh, aren't you a funny little girl? And give her a little pat on the head. So now she turns the robot Roomba thing on every time that she wants me to get up and stop doing, schoolwork or stop grading or whatever. It's annoying.
And it's funny how each dog kind of has their own little quirky, nuancy things. Ember does nose bops. I've got Dash who wants hugs, all sorts of down the road. And it just depends on their personality.
Yeah. Just getting to know them. They're so much fun. So much fun.
Nico wants to put his head on you and then he'll roll over on his back. Yeah, the big scary Dutch Shepherd, my scorpion werewolf.
Mine does the same. The big scary, Yukon on his back with the fur ball.
To kind of put a bow on this, right? So we've been talking a lot tonight about working a new partner. And I think what's really evident is how we're enjoying the experience of working with that next partner, and that it's not because we kind of started talking about comparison as kind of almost a negative, but I think what we're also talking about is how wonderful it is that each one of them is so unique and so much fun. And even when they're doing things like breaking in their refrigerator, right? We still, we can look at them and go, dang, you're a smart dog, right?
Right.
And you're like, well, that's problem solving, right? That's problem solving. That's an inaccessible hide, that chicken, that nothing is inaccessible.
Well, or you look at them and you're like, none of the other dogs have done that. How did you figure that out?
Right.
Yeah.
Because she's a girl.
There we go back to that.
Right. She's a girl. So I think this just comes down to it's take the time to explore, take the time to reflect and appreciate the differences that your next dog brings, because it makes you into a better trainer. It makes you, and as long as you approach it with optimism and you approach it with good humor,
yes, that
you will be better for it and expect the unexpected, because the unexpected is going to happen.
Right.
And there's that excitement of the future, there's that chance to fix the mistakes you made with the previous dogs that you're just going to make even more. But it's that honeymoon phase with the beginning of that new relationship. It's fun. It's stressful. You just got to enjoy that journey. I look back a year ago and seeing all these posts and my little floppy eared girl who now has little flying nun ears. If only she could have kept the ears, but I mean, otherwise they all find their way and that they like fit into your little culture. And it's just learning to communicate how they need to dog in your world. I think that's the important key too, just to listen to them, learn them, spend time with them, and help them understand what it's like or what you need to be a good dog from them.
And I have a lot of people tell me, well, I want to do it right this time.
Never did it wrong to begin with.
Well, yeah. And I don't want to make mistakes. And my answer is, don't worry, you're going to make mistakes. But as a better trainer, you will be able to recognize that, one, you're making different mistakes because it's a different dog. And you will be able to recognize your mistakes sooner because you're a better trainer. And so I think that is, it's been a fun conversation. It's helped reframe the whole concept of having a successor for a partner and having, all of the different partners for me. So I hope our listeners got something out of the conversation, and we encourage everybody to go out to the Canine Detection Collaborative website and sign up for the freebies and check out our Facebook page, because we have a post about this particular conversation, and we'd really like your input. Have a great day.
Thanks for listening.
Bye, guys.
Canine Detection Collaborative.
We appreciate the time you spend with us. If you liked this episode, not only should you follow us so you don't miss the next one, but please also rate and review us in your favorite podcast app. For info on collaborating with us, go to k9detectioncollaborative.com. That's K9detectioncollaborative.com, where you can find our socials and pick up our latest monthly freebie. Join us again to talk training in the next episode.